Aloha mai kako. Ke ola Maltengan here. Just doing some reflecting on the past couple of months and really just how I've been experiencing me. Deepening my own process, diving more deeply into my own emotions and how I've seen myself, how I've been, how I've been showing up. And it really has been pretty interesting because I realize there's been a lot of energy on being seen and being heard. And funnily enough, that's kind of what I really wanted for myself, is to be, really beheld by someone, and feeling that I hadn't was frustrating. It was something that I really aspired for and strived to for a large majority of my life, attempting to perform in a certain way, to prove myself, my worthiness, by the things that I had done or the accomplishments that I had succeeded in. And when I really look back at it, it's very interesting as a man to admit wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, and not necessarily in terms of just the successes, the product of my actions, as much as it was just to be recognized. I feel us as men have a more difficult time with this because it's not something that is part of our conditioning or necessarily even part of our culture, at least not here in Hawaii. And so to admit that is, I can feel it already, the heart rate begins to rise. I get a little hotter, a little sweaty even as I talk about this, because it is a very real, raw, and relevant issue. And yet as I allow myself to be, more open with my emotions, more forward with my feelings, feels good. Because I, as a man, and I can only really speak for myself, a lot of these sensations, in talking about my experience, because for so long I had downplayed my experience, and for myself, and I would say for men in general, it's something that's difficult for us to talk about. It's something that's hard for us to be able to express. And now being here and now, it's kind of funny, just to look at how much pressure I put on myself. And I would say that we as men put upon ourselves in terms of being able to live up to an expectation, a standard that we have set either consciously or even, more accurately, subconsciously. This need to prove ourselves. And as we just kind of let that go and dissolve and release, it feels fucking great. And not to say that it's, pow, it's done. However, the process is unfolding. And as the process now unfolds, it's something that allows, at least for me, to feel more validated, justified, not by anyone else around me, which historically had been the process, rather by what I'm feeling inside. And that's something that is incredible. Not just for me, which it definitely is for me, however, how it translates to the boys, 3 and 6, young and impressionable. Irrespective of what I say, it is by my beingness and the things that I do that really matters. And so it's been helpful to know how hurtful a lot of these programs can be. Definitely for me, and also for our children. And so as I go through this process of healing past hurt, of, really winding my mind upon this past wounding, it's something that, honestly, I don't know if I would have the courage, the openness, and the willingness to do that at this point in my life if it weren't for the boys. And I mean, I would like to say that I would. However, for a lot of men, it's scary, to go into the openness of emotion. It's something that is uncertain, and that uncertainty is something that for a lot of men, and for me, I can only speak for me, yet for me it has been something that has been unnerving at times, and yet completely worth it. It's like surfing, being out in the water, and all of a sudden, I'm used to surfing a certain size wave, like 4 to 6, that's my area. And then all of a sudden, 10 to 12 foot waves all of a sudden roll in on a freak set. There's that initial freeze, like, oh shit, do I just duck dive all of these? Or do I just ride? And there's a moment where we have a decision to make, Do we live our lives in the way that we have always lived life by? Or do we chance them? Do we go for it? And in going for it, riding that wave of uncertainty, in this case, of emotionality, of feelings, is something that is totally worth it, And I feel like at this point in time, though, it's the waves, those freak sets keep on coming in, and they just keep on getting bigger and bigger. And there's 2 parts to that, right? On one side, there's like the oh shit response. Now what do I do? Getting onto the wave and being like, yes, I did that. What's next? And it's right at that point, that sweet spot, if you will, that the magic happens. If there's one thing that I'm certain of, it is the uncertainty of life. And there is a certain solace in that, There is a release. And I feel for a lot of us guys, there's a need to control, a desire to, at least. And it's bullshit, There's parts that we can definitely steward. And I was having a conversation the other day about this whole concept of stewardship and ownership. And the ownership, it's an interesting concept because it objectifies the person, place, or thing. Whereas as a steward, someone who is a caretaker, it is my responsibility to malama aina, to care for this land, to be able to do what's best in this moment, in this case, person, place, or thing, because it's not mine, And I feel like that's something that is inherently difficult for a lot of people to grasp. That my life is not mine. I am here now, and it is upon me now, in this moment, to do the best that I can in this moment now. And at the same time, what I do, how I am, my way of being, is something that absolutely affects, influences, and impacts our children, the people that I am with. If I'm a dick at Starbucks getting my coffee to the barista on the other side, that has an effect, an influence, and an impact on that person. That person may be just a little bit more testy. They might be just a little bit more on edge because of the interaction that we had. So stewarding my life in the best way that I can means that I do in this moment to the best of my ability in each and every moment what I can. And there is, a certain power in that. There's a certain feeling, a knowingness, a comprehension, a connection that allows a certain level of release. And in that letting go, if you will, there's a magic to it. Like I'm being carried, like I'm being held, like I am, I guess back to the surfing analogy, riding a wave. And that wave, the generation of that wave is not on me. It's not like I'm out in the middle of the ocean pushing and splashing these waves to roll in so then I can then ride them. Or am I? However, in this moment, in terms of back to that stewardship piece comes back to play then. And my responsibility in this moment is to do the best that I can to ride that wave. Because that's all we have. So whatever it is that you are doing, wherever you are in your life, I guess the invitation is when you're ready, when those waves come rolling in and they are bigger than you're used to, and you have that reaction, that knee-jerk emotional response. Even if you don't feel as if you're ready, chance them. See what happens. Because even if you fall, even if you eat shit and go over the falls of the wave, in this case, you get hurt. Or things don't work out the way that you thought they would, that you felt they would. Your life is better for having taken the chance. And there are lessons and wisdom and a great learning that can happen because you dared, braved, had the courage to go. And just know that all we can do is our best in each and every moment. And that best that you have in this moment may be vastly different than the next. Okay, that's it. Love and aloha to you all. Take care. Ahui ho.